We're gonna have to make a lot of adjustment suspensions in the front. We got a lot of interference issues, so we're gonna have to sort through some of that, but I don't think we're gonna actually get to that today. I think we're gonna reprogram the taser real quick so we can move it, get the spare tire on, start on some e-brake cables, try to get some of the rear stuff buttoned up. I ordered some other stuff for the front. I think we're gonna change some springs, and I don't have enough bump stops in stock, so I don't know. We'll wander through the project.
We'll do a little bit of fiddling after we get this taser done, huh?
Yes, sir. Yep. What do you want to do today?
Eat tacos.
Your opinion doesn't matter.
3 days ago.
Your opinion don't matter.
Oh, you're gonna tell me you don't want tacos?
I didn't say that.
So my opinion does matter.
Our drive shaft is still 1350, but this was what hooked to the stock axle. We need just the joint, so I got to get this unit off here.
Do you like getting units off?
I'm really, really good at getting units off.
Oh, look at that. Full droop and got lots of room. Okay, I'm good there. I need hardware.
Spelunking? What are you doing down there?
Hooking up taser.
Does the seat smell like Ken's balls?
Couldn't tell you. I didn't inhale.
And didn't inhale and never tried it again.
So we already have an onboard air system. Love my onboard air system. But we're going from e-lockers to air lockers, so we have to reconfigure our system. Being that we have to reconfigure our system, we got to put in the ARB manifold. So now we can put our solenoids on this. But we have to get this hooked to our compressor. It's going to go on via this cable, hose. And then we're going to mount our solenoids underneath here. And we have to get all of this underneath of our seat along with our ARB compressor. These are not O-ring sealed. You have to tape these or use a thread sealant of some fashion. I prefer tape. There's a lot of arguments about it. I don't really care what your opinion is. Use whatever you like. We had to take this solenoid apart because it won't make the swing to clear that solenoid. So once we get this installed, we can reassemble the solenoid. Make sure you don't go so heavy with the Teflon tape, you get it inside of whatever you're threading into.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's it. Oh yeah, right there.
Try a bigger finger.
Spit on it.
Give it a little incentive.
Am I making you nervous?
No.
You like it?
No.
Oh, come on. Just act like you like it.
Hey,
Hi.
quick check your hands, Ken. Where might they be located?
One. One.
Okay, now in theory they should just pull out from the bottom. Come on. That doesn't even sound like it engaged.
Have not even begun to touch. So in the process of hooking the e-brake up, we realized no matter how much we adjust the e-brake cables inside the vehicle, when they put all the e-brake shoes inside of the brake rotor, they didn't even vaguely adjust it. So we take all that back apart, adjust up all the e-brake shoes, and then we actually can get everything adjusted inside. So now the e-brakes function. Next, probably going to screw the suspension a little bit.
Fun fact, though, when you were taking off the calipers,
they use 40 gallons of red Loctite.
40 gallons of red Loctite.
Absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen that much red Loctite on a caliper bracket. So we got that all hair wheeled off. But so I think as soon as we finish putting the interior back together, we got to start doing the ARB stuff. And then once that's done, we got a lot of suspension tuning to do, and there's going to be a lot. As you know by now, we have the fusion axles both installed. We got one problem with them. They don't work. We got no lockers because it has air lockers, and our Jeep was set up for e-lockers from the factory, and the factory system sucks. I hate it. So we're not going to reuse any of the factory switches. We're not reusing any of it. We're going to completely delete all of it. We are going to use this system made by LASFIT Signature. You can go to their website. They offer a bunch of different products. We're going to use their control system to run our air lockers and to run our compressor. Our compressor is already mounted on the passenger seat. We did that video back a few years ago. So compressor is already there. We have the dual ARB compressor under the passenger front seat. We're going to have to take the seat out. We have to install this. It's a manifold. It has both of our solenoids. I'll show you a close up on that in a minute. And then we're going to show you a little close up here as we open up this control panel and show you how it functions. And we still haven't ran our airlines to the axles. Comes with the lockers. They send zip ties. We got bulkhead fittings for the axles. So we got to run some lines, get the air hooked up, then we have to be able to control them. So that's going to be the next on the list. So here's the manifold. It's made by ARB. It's got our air locker switches on it, or solenoids, I'm sorry. The solenoids are already pre-installed. We might have to move these around and clock them some. This stainless steel braided line goes from the manifold over to the compressor. It's how it's fed. And our onboard air system will still retain functionality. So we're gonna rip the seat out and put that in. So this is the control panel. That's gonna do all of our stuff. We're gonna remove the factory Rubicon switch panel. It had the little sway bar button here and the locker buttons. We're removing it. So this will be front locker, rear locker. We're going to use auxiliary A to run our air compressor. Currently it's on the factory switches. It's on the factory aux switches. We're going to remove it and put it on aux A over here so they're all easy access for me. And then in the box, you can go to their website and print out all the instructions. That's for hooking it to a radio. This is your bus wiring. They got this. This goes to your cigarette lighter. There's mounting brackets for gas or diesel. You better go print out the instructions. There's a bunch of little details, but it comes with all the crap you need. More zip ties, and this is basically the brain of the system. This is the box that's going to allow us to control everything. So we have to get this installed, mounted, and all the wiring ran inside the vehicle. All right, so we ran into our first snag and we haven't even sharded. At least we didn't do that one. What we ran into is they gave us the bracket for our engine. And in this kit, they put the bracket where we can't use it. So this bracket has two holes. They line up and you use these holes right here, but we already have our air system mounted here. I don't want to move it. So we're not going to move our air system. We're not going to put this here. The reason it's set up this way is because this is supposed to be a bolt-on setup. If you bolt this on and bolt it on there, you put your control panel here, your battery's typically right here. So you can just run the leads for the control box to the battery. Our batteries are moved, they have different ends, all that kind of crap. So we're gonna have to change the wiring anyways. So since I have to change the wiring, I can move this to the other side of the vehicle and just run my two battery wires over here. No big deal. As with everything on my Jeep, I have too many damn brands on here because that's just the way it has to work. Got a Hemi that's not even supposed to be there. So we're gonna move our control panel over there and run our wiring over here. Not a big deal. We're gonna have to customize and mutilate their bracket. All right, so what we know is that it doesn't directly bolt on. We're gonna use these two bolts, this one and this one. I'm gonna knock the corner out of this plate, and then I am gonna drill a hole here, so that way it'll bolt right on. I'm gonna reconfigure my airline and come up from the back side so it kind of is like tucked down, and we can mount the control box here. Then I just gotta run the two battery wires over there. Not a big deal. Super simple for us, so that's what we're gonna do. Notched out, drilled a hole. I unhooked my airline for a minute. I tilted this down so it'll fit right there. So now we're gonna bolt the box up. I gotta paint this. We got raw metal here, so I'm gonna paint that. We can throw that on. I'll reroute this, get the box hooked up. Let's go paint.
This one's a little bit harder to push. plastic pry tools for the win. There's that one. And the big A window switch. There. Get rid of those. Puts those in.
Here's what the old one looked like. Had the front and rear locker button and the off button and the sway bar disconnect button. The new one has front and rear locker, 2 auxiliary switches, one we're going to use for the compressor, the other one we don't need for anything. Over here, my factory auxiliary switches, I've only used one and it was running my compressor, but we're going to move it over here. So these will all still be wide open. The only other accessory I have on my Jeep is the cube lights on the windshield, but we're controlling those off the fog light switch. So I know a bunch of you are going to say, well, that's really cool, but yours Jeep's a Rubicon and now my sway bar won't work. I've never used it. I have disconnects, and the reason is because no matter what I do, my suspension will outperform what a link is going to allow me to have, a sway bar link. So I always just disconnect. I don't like the factory Rubicon sway bar disconnects. My suspension will far exceed what that will allow me to have, so I just disconnect. And at some point, I'm going to be changing some stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. Eventually, if you follow me over, everything from like sway bar forward is going to change. Not today. You'll have to wait. Patience is a virtue. Not one I possess, but you need it. So I don't care about the sway bar. I don't ever use the darn thing. So that's our new control panel. It literally looks like it was supposed to be there, which is what I like. I wish it wasn't red, but it is. So the other big benefit of this switch system that I like a lot is I could be in 2-wheel drive, playing around the sand dunes or something. I could turn on the rear locker at any speed, use it whenever I want. I'm not controlled by the computer anymore. I could, at some point, if I put an Atlas T case, I could use the front locker in 4-wheel drive and I could do a front dig. That's where the front wheels are spinning and not the rears. It leaves me a lot of flexibility in being that my history is mostly in rock crawling. I really want that control. That's the one thing that drove me nuts about my Jeep is I had no control of my locker use when I wanted them. And when we built Bob's Jeep, we did his all as independent so he can control his however he wants. He started running electronic lockers, but he can control them however he wants. Now I have the ability to do the same. And now that I have strong enough axles, we can do stupid stuff.
And so we got our T-harness in for our cigarette lighter. Just tees into the original. This will plug into the original cigarette lighter. And this will plug into the back of the switches. And we got our data wire ran and our control wire over there underneath the steering wheel. This little feller dangling. So that plug I was talking about goes right into the factory spot. And I'm going to start with the lower harnesses first. I don't know if Bob's going to be able to fill that, but longer, little harness, big harness. That harness doesn't do anything now. Turn it the right way. Plug that in. Now, get our switch panel back down in the hole. And then we go to the next unit, because we are done behind there, and we can plug that in, plug that in. Everything's going to come alive now. I don't like that.
All right, there we are. We're bolted up. We're gonna put it in the vehicle. That's where it's gonna sit. We gotta run a whole bunch of wiring. This one's gonna come through here and go that way. This one's gonna get bundled up. So Much like the factory auxiliary switch system, they give you your 4 auxiliary switches available outside, and they're on the other side of the harness, they're available inside as well. We're not making any connections under the hood, so I'm gonna bundle this all up as super nice and neat as possible, stick it out of the way, zip tie it to something, make it disappear. I'm not gonna get rid of them, in case you ever did want to change or reconfigure things. If you haven't noticed the theme to this channel, I change my crap constantly. So we're gonna tape it up nice, zip tie it up nice, and make it go away. So this is gonna require a bunch of finagling to get 25 pounds of crap in a 2-pound bag. What we did is we trimmed the ductwork for the HVAC system a little bit to give us some room. We are gonna build a bracket. We're gonna mount this back here. We were originally looking at putting it over here, but then you run into a lot of problems with the fitment here with your seat. So being that we're not gonna put it over here, I didn't like it. Just because the solenoids actually makes it a pain. I've put a lot of these over here, but not with solenoids. So we're gonna build a custom bracket, and we're gonna fab that up. We're gonna mount this here. We can run our air lines to it. This will go to our compressor. The line that's here goes to my onboard air system for inflating and deflating tires. That's gonna go over here. All of our locker wiring is right here. We saved this a long time ago when we put this in. We'll have to run this over to our switches and put the connections here as well. So I'm going to save you all the boredom of cutting and welding a piece of tin and painting it to bolt this down and hooking that up and hooking that up. That's really all it is. And then we can just drop the seat back in it and this function will be done.
I think it's awesome for you.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a pain to have to put all that in.
Absolutely.
It makes me appreciate the fact that I bought a Sport.
Yours was easier in certain fashions, that's for sure. Your axles were a little easier to bolt in, bleed the brakes, all the crap.
Well, absolutely.
Still have to do custom drive shafts.
I don't have a Hemi and Fat 9.7.
Correct. No sacrifice, no victory. So it definitely was more work than that.
Yeah.
But I like that switch panel because it just looks It looks like it was supposed to be there the whole time.
Listen, I like my MLC 6 switch panel,
Yep.
but you can't argue with the fact that that looks way more factory than
100%. Yeah.
100%.
So the fit and finish is pretty sweet. The functionality is sweet. I love the fact that they're forward thinking. They leave you auxiliary switches under the hood as far as the little tags you hook into, plus they give them to you inside, much like the factory did.
The flexibility that all this gives you is like, I mean,
Pretty awesome.
it really is, because you know, like you said, you change so much stuff on this, you don't know where it's going to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Just to have that available.
Yep. Because we're constantly changing stuff. Heck, we just did a set of some other mods that we didn't even remotely need to do. I don't know if that video's out, so I won't say that. We're constantly just changing stuff to change stuff. Heck, I've had so many different brands of lift kits on this. It's not funny because we use it as our guinea pig.
Yep.
We do.
So that flexibility will come in handy, I'm sure.
But now we have axles in, 38s, Hemi, everything's tuned, brakes work, drive shafts are done, like everything's good. Want to go over, Landy?
Test it, I was going to say.
We're not going over.
We're not going over.
No,
I
want rocks. I want big rocks. Bring them big rocks. I like big rocks, and I cannot lie.
Unfortunately, we live in Michigan, and there are no rocks here.
Vacation.
Stay tuned.
See you guys next week.